The United States Presidential Election System, a guide for everyone, dear listeners. Today we will discuss one of the most curious and debated election processes in the world, the presidential elections in the United States. This complex system may seem confusing at first glance. However, by the end of this discussion, you will fully understand the basic logic and important elements of this system. Our aim is to ensure that even someone with no prior knowledge of the U.S. election system learns everything, and to draw attention to the states that play a critical role in this process. In the United States, the presidential race is fundamentally between the two major political parties, the Democrats and the Republicans. However, to understand how this race is conducted and how the winner is determined, we need to examine several important stages. How are presidential candidates determined? The U.S. presidential election process begins long before the general elections. Parties organize a series of events called primaries or party meetings to determine their candidates who will compete for the presidency. The party administration of each state decides which of these candidate determination methods will be applied within its borders. In some states, both methods can be used. Primaries are similar to general elections, where party supporters go to the polls and vote for their preferred candidate. These elections can be open to registered party voters, closed primary, or allow independent voters to participate, open primary. Party meetings, caucuses, are a system where party members gather at a specific place to discuss candidates and then vote. 1. These meetings require more participation and information exchange compared to primaries. These primaries and party meetings begin in January of the presidential election year and are held at different times from state to state until June. Traditionally, the states of Iowa and New Hampshire hold the first primaries, significantly influencing the course of the candidacy race. A special Tuesday in February or March, when many states hold their primaries on the same day, is called Super Tuesday. 2. The results obtained on this day more clearly show the national level of support for the candidates. Towards the end of the summer, each party holds a national convention and officially declares the candidate who won the most delegates in the primaries as their presidential nominee. Today, these conventions are more of a formality since the candidates are largely determined by the primaries. The presidential candidate usually announces their vice presidential candidate, with whom they will run before this convention. The convention ends with a speech by the presidential candidate, and then the presidential election campaign, which will last approximately 2 months, begins. How does the election work? The importance of the Electoral College. The presidential election in the United States is conducted through a two-stage system, unlike many other countries. On Election Day, citizens do not directly vote for the presidential candidate, but for the Electoral College members who support that candidate. The basis of this system is the idea of better representing the different regions and interests of the country. Each state is allocated a number of electors equal to its total number of representatives in Congress, House of Representatives, and Senate. Currently, there are a total of 538 members in the Electoral College, 435 House of Representatives members, 100 Senate members, 2 from each state, and 3 members for the capital, Washington, D.C., 3 to be elected president. A candidate must win at least 270 of these 538 electoral votes. In almost all states, the presidential candidate who receives the most votes in that state wins all of that state's electoral votes, the winner-takes-all system. The states of Maine and Nebraska are exceptions to this rule and distribute their votes using a different system. Due to this winner-takes-all system, sometimes a candidate who has received fewer votes nationwide can be elected president by securing a majority in the Electoral College. For example, in 2016, Donald Trump was elected president because he won more votes in the Electoral College than Hillary Clinton, despite receiving fewer popular votes. The Electoral College system was adopted as a compromise by the founding fathers of the United States to balance the interests of different states and to create a more controlled election process instead of a direct popular vote. Historical reasons such as the issue of slavery and the balance of representation according to the population of the states also played a role in the emergence of this system. In December following the election day, the electors of each state gather in their respective states and officially vote for president and vice president. These votes are then sent to the U.S. Congress to be counted. Why are critical states important? The Electoral College system leads to presidential candidates and the media evaluating states in different categories. Blue states are generally considered strongholds for Democrats, while red states are considered Republican strongholds. However, There are also states called swing states or battleground states where both parties have a high chance of winning. Since the preferences of voters in these states often change, they play a critical role in determining the outcome of presidential elections. Especially states like Pennsylvania, Georgia, North Carolina, Michigan, Arizona, Wisconsin, and Nevada have frequently been the scene of close races in recent elections and have directly affected the election results. Candidates conduct intense campaigns to win the votes of the electorate in these states because every vote won in these states provides a significant advantage in the Electoral College. This situation causes candidates to focus a large portion of their resources on these swing states. How do citizens vote? In the U.S. presidential elections, citizens can vote using different methods. The most common method is to go to the designated polling places on Election Day and vote. However, in many states, there is also the possibility of early voting before Election Day. This allows voters to cast their ballots by going to polling places between the specified dates. In recent years, the method of voting by mail has also gained importance. Many states allow voters to receive their ballots by mail, fill them out, and return them by mail, or drop them off at designated locations. 5. This method has become even more widespread, especially during the pandemic. 31. How are election results finalized? There is no central election committee in the U.S. Each state implements its own procedures for counting votes and announcing results. On election night, news organizations usually begin to predict winners based on exit polls and the first votes counted. However, official results are finalized after local and state-level certifications. In December, the electors of each state convene in their states to cast their official votes for president and vice president, and these votes are sent to Congress. In January, the newly inaugurated Congress convenes to count these electoral votes and officially declare the winner of the election. The new President of the United States takes office on January 20th with the inauguration ceremony. The process for challenging election results is also determined by state laws, and in case of disputes, the final decision-making body is usually Congress. Which states should you pay attention to? While election night results are closely monitored, the results of some swing states are particularly important. Here are some critical states to watch and brief notes on why they are important. State name, number of electoral votes. Why is it a critical state? Pennsylvania, 19 electoral votes, often closely contested with a high number of electoral votes. Georgia, 16 electoral votes, increased importance due to close races and demographic changes in recent elections. North Carolina, 16 electoral votes, a state that consistently yields close results. Michigan, 15 electoral votes. Although surprisingly won by Republicans in 2016, it is again a target for Democrats. Arizona, 11 electoral votes, has become a key state in recent years with its rapidly growing and diversifying population. Wisconsin, 10 electoral votes, an important swing state in the Midwest. Nevada, 6, a small but influential swing state in the West. The results in these states usually play a vital role in determining the winner of the presidential election. Conclusion: the United States presidential election system, while seemingly complex at first glance, fundamentally consists of three main stages: the candidate nomination process, the general elections, and the Electoral College. The Electoral College system, and especially the importance of swing states, differentiate these elections from those in other countries. The methods by which citizens vote and the process by which results are determined are also integral parts of this system. In today's globalized world, the results of U.S. presidential elections affect the entire world. Therefore, understanding this unique and sometimes controversial system allows us to better comprehend American politics and global events. I hope this discussion has satisfied your curiosity about the U.S. election system and helped you gain basic knowledge on this topic. Thank you for listening.